Hello there, and welcome to the Wishbeads podcast. I'm Alexa Fischer, creator of Wishbeads, and I have an incredibly exciting guest wearing a very cozy poncho, which we'll talk about. Shannon Algeo of the Soul Feed podcast, yoga instructor, yoga Nidra, and meditation instructor at Unplug and New York City and others. And also a new friend of mine, which I am thrilled. So we're in the Shasta, having a conversation.
Yes, we are.
And we recently connected because his dear friend, my friend, Justin, put us together because he did a really beautiful event at his home on New Year's Eve day. Mm-hmm. And we did Wishbeads together. We did a visualization, really but acknowledging the gifts and experiences of 2019 and really being intentional about what we're ready to manifest in 2020. Welcome to the podcast, Shannon.
Thank you. What a beautiful, whole, and complete introduction. And shout out to Justin Michael Williams for bringing us together
Justin
that
Michael
day.
Williams is literally in his presence. It's like seeing a light bulb go off. The heart, the soul, the energy, the joy, total contagion. And I did have one of those moments where I was like, can we be friends? Because you're amazing.
Yes.
Yes, Justin Michael Williams. Check him out. He is amazing. He has a book coming out next month, I think.
Yep, in February 2020. And I love him so much too. Oh my gosh.
Yes. He's got an amazing meditation book coming out, and he's just an incredible human being and a phenomenal musician. You're actually going to hear more about Justin because we're going to be doing some fun stuff together, and he inspired me quite a bit in my own songwriting journey and life journey.
Yay.
More on that later.
Stay tuned. Do your listeners know about your songwriting
No, they don't.
journey yet? Okay, so
no, they don't.
tuned.
Stay tuned. Yeah,
because I do. I heard it.
We are always cooking up wishes here at Wishbeads. I've got some major wishes that are unfolding. You're going to hear about them in the weeks to come.
I love cooking up wishes.
Cooking them up, man. The big cauldron of wishes.
Ooh.
Just like sprinkle in a little sparkly stuff, a little
joy.
Unicorn blood. I don't know.
I'm down for some unicorn blood as long as it's ethically sourced and consensual.
Of course. Always.
Unicorns
Yeah,
willingly
unicorn,
donating
it's actually
their
just,
blood.
yeah, maybe it's just unicorn like fairy dust.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or like a unicorn like strand of hair.
Yes, that's all you need.
Mm-hmm.
A
Or
little
like
silver
maybe
strand.
like a part of their rainbow. It's not a mane, but what is that kind of part of
I think it's a mane, right? Like a horse.
like a horse mane.
A horse mane. I don't know.
I love
Magical
unicorns,
stuff.
by the way.
Me too. I do. I straight up love unicorns. So I had this really beautiful unicorn moment. I really honestly could segue to about anything, but this is a true thing. So I have this unicorn onesie that I wear at Halloween.
I have a unicorn onesie too that I wore once on Halloween.
Oh my God. We should be doing this podcast in our unicorn onesies. What?
In
Do you
the
still have
Shasta.
it?
I believe it sparks joy, so I should have it.
Okay,
But I
Marie
let
Kondo
go
would
of
say
a
you hold on to that business. I have it hung up in my closet.
I hope I still have it because, okay, you have it hung up on your closet. I admittedly need to locate
Okay.
my onesies because I
Okay.
recently shed a lot of things.
Fair enough. It's not an essential.
But it kind
Unless
of
you're me.
is. I think like checking in with my deepest soul self, that unicorn onesie is 1,000% essential.
Okay, good. Well, if you don't, I'm going to get you one. So you just check with your closet. But this unicorn onesie makes me super happy. It sparks joy. It's staying in my life. And I was wearing it on Halloween when I love giving out the candy. You know, that's my favorite part. So I'm sitting on the stoop and there's a lot of kids who come.
I bet,
And
yeah.
I saw this little girl walk up. Maybe she was 4. She was wearing a unicorn outfit. And I said, "Hey, hi, I'm a unicorn too." And here's the look that she gave me. I mean, just like it was pure magic. Like she had found her unicorn mama and it totally like lit me up. It was the best feeling ever. And I think for me, the part that I actually love about Wishbeads the most is that moment where someone wakes up and they think, "Oh my God, this stuff works." They make a connective moment, whether they're doing the Wishwork or they're just like some crazy coincidence happens, and then they waken not to the magic of Wishbeads, but the magic inside themselves.
Yes, I was having that moment on the way over here because I was running 10 minutes late. And you told me, I love 11:11.
Yes.
And then as you said that, I looked at the Waze app on my phone showed that I was actually arriving at 11:11. All of a sudden, I was 11 minutes late. And it was 13 miles. And my birthday is 11/13, November 13th. And so whenever I see 11s and 13s and 11/11s or 1113, I'm like, you know, okay, like this is a moment, a reminder of the magic. But sometimes I forget to like take that moment. I'm like, oh yeah, of course it's 11:11. It's always 11:11. You know, we take these things for granted. It's so important to just take that moment to acknowledge the magic when it arrives.
Yes.
That synchronicity.
Yes.
So thank you for helping me with that today.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. It's just that little extra awareness that feeds your soul. You know, just that
like
littles.
The magic is choosing you. Like it's all around, but will we choose the magic? Will you choose the magic?
Yeah. It's so true. That's so true. I don't know. I hope you probably do know the podcast, Shannon's podcast, Soul Feed. It's incredible. You have had the honor of interviewing some amazing thought leaders, especially in the spiritual development space, of providing really useful, honest, open, candid, feedback and inspiration to people to really, I think as you told me earlier, not just feed your soul, but really nourish your soul. Did you have a vision for creating this from the beginning about what you wanted Soul Feed to be and how you wanted your work to show up in the world, how you wanted to share that?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. Yes, I had a deep intention for creating something really, not even creating something meaningful in the world, although that is true, but really I wanted to be of service to people and make an impact in the world and be helpful. And I wasn't really sure how that was going to happen, but I was teaching yoga and I was life coaching actors in a group coaching group in New York and LA called Actor Salon at the time. So I was facilitating group coaching. I was working for Lululemon. I was doing goal coaching for like amazing people in New York City, like our ambassadors who are like Broadway choreographers and fitness stars and I was really finding my connection to being of service and really helping people get clear about what they want, and also through yoga and meditation, helping people connect to the truth inside of themselves, that goodness inside of themselves. And when I got approached by my podcast partner, my previous co-host, Alex Kipp, he wanted to kind of pick my brain about, the coaching that I was doing. And we met up and he was like, we should be accountability partners. Like, we're both getting started as coaches. Why don't we help each other out and like learn together? And I was like, okay. And then by the end of our first like learning session where we were like, learning, he was like, we need to start something. We need to start something. The interesting thing about Alex Kipp, it is cool too, it's fascinating, is his senior year of college, we both went to school for musical theater, separate schools. He went to Michigan, I went to Syracuse. And his senior year, he's like a tall, broad male ingenue with a beautiful voice. But his senior year, he got diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in his throat.
Oh, wow.
Couldn't sing anymore and had a 15% chance of surviving.
Wow.
And survived and has been in full remission for many years. And so by the time he moved to New York City and had been through all of that, he had a fire in his belly that I think sometimes people really only access when they realize their mortality and kind of come close to, the possibility of death.
Sure.
And so when he came to approach me, he was like, we got to create Soul Feed. He didn't say that because we didn't have a name for it yet, but he was like, we got to do something, bro. We got to do something. We got to create something. We got to put something out there. And I remember it overwhelmed me. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. But that many woes. And I could feel that this guy was like, really, if we were going to bring our energy together, shit was going to happen.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of obstacles in our working relationship because we were just getting to know each other, but we were going into deep partnership while getting to know each other.
Yeah.
When you're in your early 20s, you don't really like think about that kind of stuff. You're like, let's just do it. And we had that let's just do it energy. And so because of that, our first guests were Sean Korn, who was a teacher I had very recently studied with at the time, who agreed to be a guest on the show. Sean Corden's an amazing, celebrated yoga teacher.
Very, very popular.
And that led to Marianne Williamson saying yes to being on the show. So those were our first two guests. So it kind of started off with this energy of like, oh, this is going to be like a thing. And soon after, we interviewed the first Ugandan Nobel Peace Prize nominee, Victor Ochin, who is an incredible leader in the world, doing incredible work in Uganda and in Africa. And that kind of, the podcast just took on this life of, we want to have conversations that are inspired, that are motivated, and that light people up. And so there was like tons of passion in Alex and I co-interviewing people together.
Right.
And I even remember like first time interviewing Deepak Chopra and Marianne Williamson, my heart pounding because it was like everything was happening so fast. And it was like my little nervous system was, and my ego was like, are you worthy of sitting and talking to these people? And honestly, it was such a healing experience for me because it was a major part of me realizing like how we are all the same.
Yeah.
You know, like,
huge lesson. Huge.
And not to minimize the incredible work and commitment that people like Sean and Deepak and Marianne and Victor Ochin have like done. They've spent decades cultivating this work. So that humbles me. But at the same time, that is true. And we're all human and we come together in collaboration to work together. And so that was how Soul Feed started, is we created an avatar of who the soul warrior listener was, and we like wrote out all the details of who this person was. And I think the show used to be called the Soul Workout. We never launched it as that, but we were going to call it the Soul Workout. Like give a weekly workout for your soul.
I love that.
And we landed with Soul Feed, and
it's a great name.
Definitely like has changed my life and continues to force me to sit down and have conversations that I really like wouldn't otherwise have if it weren't not for that space. Yeah.
And what I love about it too is that yes, there is an energy of in your 20s, like anything is possible. It's also happens to be how I run my own life now, of this idea of anything is possible. And that, you know, it wasn't, for people that are looking from the outside, they could have that story of like, oh, Shannon, easy for you. You have a hugely popular podcast. You already have all these famous people that are on your podcast. How do I start a podcast now? And to that, I would say like, it is a huge leap of faith. If you're coming from that clear place from the beginning, even when you had those feelings of imposter syndrome or whatever, you did it anyway. You showed up anyway in service. And that continues to plant very powerful seeds so that it can continue to grow and continue to inspire others. So it's funny. We all have those dreams that seem like, oh, how is this possibly going to do? Like, how is this going to work out? And you just keep showing up, humbly showing up. Yeah.
Yep. That's so often my mantra is like, just keep showing up. Keep showing up. That I say that to myself all the time, because there are times where I'm like, you know, I don't wanna today. Like, I don't feel like it. And but whenever I do, whenever I show up for Soul Feed shows up for me, you know, it's like, and that's what I love too about the conversations that I have. I always try to come to every conversation with curiosity as a student, and to, as much as possible, like reveal my own inner process, because I think that's where, like, you know, when you're listening to a podcast, you are a student too.
Of course.
And so if you can hear a student being a student while you're being a student, and like, there's just I don't know, I never want to put on this affect of like, I know everything. Like, listen to me.
Feed your soul from my words.
Yes, yeah. And don't get me wrong, we all have something very powerful to share. And I don't shy away from my gifts, but I humbly, like, you know, show up as a student as well, which is
so beautiful.
Essential.
You feel that. Yeah, you absolutely feel that being in your presence. But you also mentioned a word that I think kind of encapsulates this nice beauty between learning, active learning, but also a childlike presence, which is curiosity. Curiosity, if you can be, I just met an amazing woman named Charlotte last week, and she's had a very long, exciting life, but she's a lifelong student, and she's at a place in her life, and I think she's maybe in her 60s, early 60s, where she is going to go study in Oxford for 2 months and study art and study literature and study culture. And I think that desire to be a lifelong learner is the thing that literally makes her feel like she has the energy of a 12-year-old.
I bet.
Yeah, she's just incredible. And she's had tough things that has happened in her life, but she's also had amazing adventures. And if you're curious, it means that at least you're open enough to not only to be humble around other people and be a great listener, ask a lot of interesting questions, but you're just open to receive as much as give. And it's such an important way to do that. Sometimes I'll sit in front of a problem and I'll think, it's that energy of, it's going to be so hard, or I don't feel like dealing with this, or can't somebody else handle this? And yet if I'm just like curious about what's the best way forward through this, something shifts and everything is easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an openness.
Curiosity is this willingness to see things another way, which actually reminds me of how A Course in Miracles defines a miracle, a shift in perception from the thought system of fear to the thought system of love.
Oh, can you just say that again? Because that's such wide words from Marianne Williamson. Beautiful.
Yeah. So A Course in Miracles says that a miracle is a shift in perception from the thought system of fear to the thought system of love. So it's a shift in our own mind, and curiosity incites that moment.
Right.
Curiosity inspires that moment of that shift. If we're curious, that means we have a willingness to see something differently.
That's right.
And the seeing it differently is the miracle itself, because otherwise we're on another track, and that track might be a fear track, or the way they put it in Zen Buddhism is beginner's mind.
Right.
And versus fixed mind. Fixed mind is like, well, this is the way it is, and this problem is a problem, and I'm mad at the problem. The problem sucks.
There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah. And then we're stuck in that fixed mind. And then beginner's mind is like, wait, what am I missing here? And for me, my thing is like so often reminding myself that I don't have to have it all figured out. Like I have to like remind myself of that to then be like, and because I don't have to have it all figured out, I can be curious. I'm allowed to be curious because I don't have to have it all figured out. And kind of like baked underneath all of that is this trust.
Yeah.
That there's something happening that my mind cannot possibly perceive.
Right.
All of the things that are in existence right now.
Right.
That I'm unaware of.
Completely.
So much more than what I am aware of.
I think about the miracle of our bodies. You and I, we joked when you came in, we had some sort of joke about the human biome. It got like very bright all of a sudden, like, there's like a very bright light happening with me right now. Anyway, so we had this moment where we were talking about the biome, that our bodies inside of us are doing so many millions of things that are below our level of perception, that are keeping us alive, immune system fighting, who knows what it's fighting and keeping us strong, and our blood's being regulated, our lungs are being oxygenated, our blood is being oxygenated, all those things. Our mind is not perceiving that right now. But that doesn't mean it's not happening. So when you can apply this one lens to other lenses of your life and almost make your experience of life more of a game, which is what I'm inviting people to do with Wishwork, the idea that you could perceive life just a little bit differently opens you up in ways that like it's blossoming open like a flower. Yeah. And then you get to that place where the world seems wondrous and full of possibility.
It's like, oh my gosh, there's a room in this house.
Yeah.
And I thought this house was like a studio apartment.
Right.
But it's actually a mansion.
Totally.
And that's the kind of that's what we experience in our lives when we open ourselves up to there being more than just what we're aware of right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you for the work that you do, because your curiosity opens the door for us to learn not only from you as a teacher, but from the people that you interview, which is also awesome. And the way that you show up in your work. You have a book that's coming out next year, super exciting. And so as you evolve and your curiosity evolves, that all these different layers that you are in service to your audience. It's wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's interesting because I have transitioned into teaching more of yoga nidra, which is so similar to what we're talking about right now, in terms of accessing like the deeper layers and levels of our consciousness, like the non-conscious world within.
Yeah.
And I've taught a lot of yoga in New York, and I started to learn that my favorite part of yoga to teach was shavasana at the end.
Yeah.
And so my shavasanas in yoga classes started to get longer and longer. And then, it became unsustainable because
People are like,
let
we're
people
still
leave, and the next person coming into the fitness gym was very angry for the high intensity class that was,
oh my gosh,
quite frankly, interrupting my shavasana.
Yeah, we're doing pro shavasana work here right now, people. Pro shavasana work.
And so the at the time I didn't know what yoga nidra was, but was doing a hypnosis training, and I started to implement some of the hypnosis tone exercises and breathing exercises just lightly into the shavasana. I started to notice people's bodies really relaxing even deeper and going deeper into the state. And so anyway, this practice of yoga nidra to me feels so aligned with like Wishwork and going inside is like our lives can be so externally focused on everything going on outside of us, and that's not a bad thing, but we can tend to focus so much on our jobs and our bank accounts and our cars and our relationships and our to-do lists and our achievements, and then all of a sudden it's like all of this energy is going out to all of these things, and the question becomes have we forgotten to remember all of the power that lives within?
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the practice of yoga nidra is in a very practical, embodied, experiential way, gives us insight into the wisdom within, like how much is actually happening within the body.
Amazing. So is yoga nidra more like a yoga of the mind, where it's a guided, almost hypnosis, where you're kind of getting quiet? Talk us through like what a class looks like, because I haven't taken Shannon's class yet. I am so excited to, because he teaches in Los Angeles at Unplugged Meditation, one of my favorite spots.
Yay.
You have to check them out.
Yes. Yeah. I can't wait for you to come to class. So yoga nidra translates to, so, it's not yoga poses.
Right.
There's nothing really physical about it other than you have a body. You generally have a body when you come in, and you have a body when you leave. So it's safe in that sense.
Bring your body.
bring your body. It's all you really need. And it translates to the art of transformational sleep or enlightened sleep. But it's slightly mistranslated in the sense that it actually is not about falling asleep the way that we think of going to bed at night. It's becoming awake to the areas of our lives and ourselves that we are normally asleep to.
Ooh. So it's really getting woken up.
Yes. But it's weird because it's like you're kind of letting your body go towards a sleep state so that you can wake up. Put in other words, you're bringing the light of your conscious awareness to the shadow depths of you,
Beautiful.
to the non-conscious, but you're also bringing the non-conscious to the light. And that's what this state is when you actually, when you go into the Nidra state, and just very practically, you kind of bring your awareness. There's different deep relaxation techniques that lead someone into the Nidra state. Mm-hmm. But you're bringing your awareness to different areas of the body. There's an exercise where you place light in 61 points of the body and let each part of the body go. And so you're going deeper and deeper and deeper. And eventually your body might kind of fall into a sleep state. Your mind, there's the potential, it happens sometimes, where your mind becomes thoughtless. And the brain waves slow down so much that it can actually be deeper than deeper than actual sleep. So It's a very restful, healing state that can be anywhere from deeply relaxing. It can, sometimes people twitch because they're like physically releasing tension that the body's holding on to that they're not even aware of. People can have I've had this before, vivid memories of being in rooms with people from my childhood. I've had people come up to me and say they've been working with their therapist for 5 years on accessing a relationship with their inner child to no avail. But in the class, they
Make that connection.
made that connection, held their inner child, and had a profound experience. So there's a wide
Wow.
range of experiences, but and this is what I love about the work that you do and what you remind us of is the magic is within. That's what Nidra is. It's the remembrance of the healing wisdom that is already within us. We just need to go and access it.
And access it. Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to take your class. That idea that what we want is inside of us, and it's very specific to us individually. So the invitation to visualize a moment where you're living your wish is your moment to get quiet and ask that question, like, what do you really want? And it can seem like a big loaded question, as if we only get one wish in this lifetime, which is also, you don't get 3 wishes. There's no genie with 3 wishes. You get as many wishes as you want. There's no limitation. In your Wishbeads jewelry, you get 5 papers. That's not to write 5, like a long version of 1 wish. It's actually 5 wishes. But the idea is that you can get as many wishes as you want. So asking yourself, like, what would it look like if everything felt amazing? You were deeply satisfied. That answer is actually inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can be a little bit accountable to giving ourselves the circumstances to just be able to receive that information, whether it is making time in your calendar to be quiet for 20 minutes, or if it's getting out in nature. Nature naturally calms down the nervous system. Going to one of your classes and giving yourself an experience where you can be led through something. These are just action steps that are not like life-changing, go to an ashram in India, let go of all of your friends. No, it's just like a little decision you need to make to give yourself a circumstance where you can step into that. Get quiet.
I love the way that you're articulating this. It reminds me of like your restaurant example around like being specific about what you want to order that's going to satisfy you.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if you don't go to the restaurant, then you're not going to have like the meal experience at all. So
No.
it's like you want to go to the place where you can go within. So whatever gets you to connect inward, whether that is yoga or meditation or yoga nidra or nature or just breathing or journaling, whatever that, or creating a wish bead, whatever that access point is, you gotta
do something.
You gotta go.
You gotta go. And going back to this idea of the power of curiosity, is there is going to likely be some voice in you that is going to tell you that this is BS, it doesn't work, this is something that's keeping you from stepping in, taking action towards that experience. And even if you can shift a negative thought, a doubting thought, a hesitant thought, just a curiosity. It doesn't even have to be enthusiasm. Just curiosity is an opening.
Mm-hmm.
Just to be like, well, let's just see. Yep. I don't know if this is going to work, but let's just see. I'll give it a shot. Even that is so possible. Then the people who are like, oh my, I live this. I go to yoga. I believe in the power of this, yada, yada. If it's just open, curious, that's all you need.
It really is the practice of valuing what I call spiritual practice, which for me means connecting to the wisdom within, connecting to the truth of who I am, getting to the essence of who I am, and letting the, labels and roles and cloudiness of identity and personality, like letting that go away or dissolve in the presence of my true, potent, pure self. And that's what spiritual practice is whatever practice helps me move towards the truth of who I am. And so in order for that to happen, I have to value my practice.
True.
So anyway, I think that's something that people struggle with is we value hustling, making money, like building
your audience, hitting the metrics of success. Yes.
Or even eating right, or even going to yoga. We might be doing some of these things that might sound like a spiritual practice, But the question is not whether like yoga is not necessarily a spiritual practice. Is it a spiritual practice to you? Some people do yoga and they do these really intense classes, which I love a good intense class. So there's nothing wrong with that. But the intention behind their intense class is to beat themselves up. They overate yesterday. So there's baked into the intention
Interesting.
a vibration of punishment. That's not a spiritual practice. A spiritual practice is an intention to get to your pure, potent essence, the truth within you, your soul, the goodness within. And so in order for me to really lean into that, I've had to make it so important in a society and culture. It's a little bit easier here in LA, but I'm still new here. But I grew up in a society and culture which does not value the inner world in the same way that it values the outer world, as I feel like a lot of us have.
Yeah.
So it requires that we claim that.
And for you, does that show up in, you can value something, but do you value a meditation practice? What is the practical thing that you're doing that supports the importance of that intention?
Yeah, well, so for me, I just completed 40 days of Yoga Nidra practice.
In a row?
And not in a row.
Okay.
They weren't consecutive, but I did complete them.
Yay!
Practice, not perfection.
Yes, exactly. That's amazing.
Yeah, so I did 40 days of Yoga Nidra, and
Do you guide yourself in that process? Is that how it works?
It depends. I have a beautiful 30-minute recording that my teacher,
Great.
Tracy Stanley, who's amazing. I love Tracy Stanley so much. I've learned so much from her embodied wisdom.
Wow.
She really embodies the grace of Nidra. And so sometimes I'll do a beautiful 30-minute recording. Sometimes I'll lead myself, which is a little bit more challenging because I have to kind of hold the space for myself and let go.
Right.
Which is actually a very good practice.
Yeah. Interesting.
And sometimes, last night or yesterday afternoon, actually, I started with Tracy's recording, but right when we went from sitting to lying down, the recording went out.
Interesting.
And I was like,
That's
the
interesting.
universe, at the perfect moment, I was like, the universe wants me to,
Drive.
well, yeah, wants me to not solely rely on the guidance of someone else. Which isn't a bad thing
So
to do that,
interesting.
but it's just interesting. Sometimes we rely on things that may be helpful for the first 10 or 15, but at some point, it's
crutch.
also important that that it can turn into a crutch.
Yeah.
So anyway, the universe just created that for me yesterday. And I was like, okay.
And you received it.
Oh yeah, and I led myself through a very deep practice.
Wow.
And it's interesting to lead myself through it, but then at a certain point, I stopped leading.
Surrendering to the moment.
And when you have a practice, your unconscious mind is programmed to the rhythm of that practice. So you don't have to consciously be so awake to guide yourself through it.
It's so cool. I also like the idea that not only are you declaring that you value it, but then you're also making a commitment. And here is where I think there's a lot of hype and talk and things that are posted on Instagram. There's a lot of messaging around what we're doing that maybe in reality, we're not actually doing it. You know what I mean? So I think the idea that if you're really ready to do something, you have to make a commitment. And it is a commitment. It's a commitment to meditate each day. It's a commitment to floss your teeth every day. It's a commitment to put your phone out of your bedroom. Whatever your choices are that you've kind of went, I'm a better, happier, balanced person when I do X, Y, Z. But then you got to show up and do it. Because habits are just those amazing neural pathways in our brains that are there, and they've created this line that your body will naturally lean into until you make the commitment to I'm going to switch that behavior because I value it and I'm committed to changing it, but it's really the effort that then comes to break that habit.
Yes, one of our interviews on Soulfeed was with Dr. David Bach, who's a neuroscientist who does all of these experiments on himself and on friends and family and patients, and he reminded, well, actually he taught us. I did not know this until he shared it, but it's so simple to change a neural pathway in the brain. There's a formula, and you interrupt the current pattern. So you got to stop in your tracks. Whatever you could do a circle around yourself. You could scream. You could throw your hands up in the air. You could journal. You could meditate. But some kind of interrupt moment where you stop the old pattern you stop the old neural pathway from connecting in your brain and in your life. And then you replace it. You got to replace it immediately. So if you're grabbing for the bag of chips, the interrupt is you say stop. And you stop, and then you replace it with a carrot, or like whatever you're working towards. Yes,
you can't not just stop. You have to put a new pathway there.
You got to. I
love that.
Because there are grooves in our mind, and the path of least resistance makes it so the neural pathways that are used to connecting will continue to connect. And so that's why it feels like work when we're first doing something new, and that's why as a part of my Nidra training with Tracy, we have to do 40 days.
Yeah.
Because we're creating a relationship with the practice that is going to be a ripple that's everlasting at that point.
Right. Beautiful. And people ask me too, why are there 21 days of Wishwork? Well, according to the studies, 21 days consecutively is the very thing that creates a new pathway. Mm-hmm. It's a new habit. And if you can start to train yourself to look in the world for opportunities, moments of connection, coincidence, the habit of taking action towards something you intentionally want, you will develop a muscle that starts to see the world where it's like, how is the universe working for me? How, what is going to delight and surprise me? What is going to make me feel like a total rock star because I'm creating what I want? I'm in the driver's seat. And it is a muscle that you need to build. Whereas I used to run around Los Angeles, especially as an actress, running all over town thinking that like LA drivers are horrible. Driving, like traffic is awful. It's so stressful. I never feel like I'm on time. And because I was so trained in my mind as that was the perception, that was my experience. LA traffic, if anything, is worse now. It's many, many years later. But my relationship to traffic and the experience is totally different because I consciously rewrote my reaction to it. So it's now it's a time of connection if I'm making calls to friends and family. It's a moment of reflection. I'm listening to podcasts that I love. It's a moment where I can delight myself with listening to music and singing at the top of my lungs. It's my time. Woo! Like, let's hope I have a long drive,
You had your miracle shift from fear to love.
From fear to love. And it is a miracle to learn how to love LA traffic.
That is a miracle.
It's a miracle.
And at first it won't necessarily feel real.
No.
All of those limiting voices will come in and say, why bother? The cynical voices, the who cares, just have the bag of chips, just hate the traffic, just stay on your phone instead of meditate. All of those voices will come in at first, but that's where the musculature is built.
Yes.
Is by like putting the resistance up against those things. And then the payoff is that eventually the new, preferred outcome becomes the easy outcome.
Easy outcome. Normal outcome. You don't even remember what life was like before that. Ha ha ha. And it's so funny.
Who's got the last laugh now?
Yeah, exactly. But the whole idea, sometimes I talk about the power of the Wizard of Oz, and that Dorothy really wanted to go home and she had the power to go home all along. And that the idea that there's some wizard that has all the control, when the wizard is just this like loud voice and a scared guy behind a curtain. And so when you can kind of break apart that myth, there's so much there. The things that we are looking for, we've had all along. So it then goes back to the question, what do you want?
Oh my gosh.
What do you want? What's going to make you happy? So I don't know if you feel comfortable sharing, but your own personal vision that came up, which was so sweet. Do you feel cool sharing that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, we connected on this beautiful moment where I led a small group through Wishbeads, and Shannon was there, and you shared afterwards what you saw.
Yeah.
So can we talk about that briefly?
May I, before I share the like sort of tangible aspect, can I open my Wishbead
Sure.
right now?
You can do whatever you want.
Is that like
No, do whatever you
okay
want. Yeah.
in Wishbead culture?
Yes. I often tell people, guys, I made this up. So,
I'm like, I just would love to read again for myself and to listeners.
Totally.
Like, what
Hopefully
I
it didn't, a
wrote.
little moisture didn't get in there, but let's see if you can read it.
Oh, yeah, that might happen too.
You might be able
I don't
to
even
read
know
it.
if I can get it out.
If I had a toothpick, I would be able to. I'm trying to look what I have in
The
arm's
wish
reach.
might be like
It's all
baked.
snug as a bug, isn't it? A rug in there. It doesn't want to come
I think it wants
out.
to stay. I was like, what is the essence of this? I should have photocopied it. Hello.
I remember what you visualized.
I do. Yes. Yeah.
So I don't know what you wrote in there, but
So great. This
You can
this
poke
is
at it
about
later.
going with the flow. And my wish is in this cylinder and wants to stay there. So
Okay.
I'm gonna go with what the beads are preferring. So my wish is interesting because when I do my inner work and like self-inquiry, and I tend to like shy away from like material stuff, like because I feel like there's so much like just in the intangible like essence of how I want to feel and be. Not that I'm of any I love beautiful things. I love like
Yeah.
my home and I'm so into that. But it was just so interesting because we were doing this meditation. You were leading us through it, and I just moved to Topanga Canyon back in October, and there's this like perfect space on my deck because I have a deck, which is so crazy. Like when I think of my like Upper West Side 5th floor walk up above a synagogue, like
Yeah.
on 91st and West End, like,
you're in a different place.
Yeah,
You've got
like,
a deck with woods.
life
great.
can transform, you
Yes,
know, like,
yes.
wow. And so now I have got this just amazing Topanga home, and I have this deck, and then there's this deck area, but then there's like a raised part of the deck that's like this square. And I had this visualization while you were guiding us through the meditation of a hot tub there. And I had thought of a hot tub there, but for some reason while we were in the meditation, I was like, that's what was really coming up, was like that hot tub. And I noticed like there were different color settings.
So specific.
And I noticed the feeling of my spine in the hot water, and like the way my nervous system and my body was like exhaling into the hot water. So I really tapped into my alone time in the hot tub, like kind of just solo recharge. But then also, as I'm saying it now, like also like having a friend over and having great like hot tub conversations and like guests and family. And so what's interesting is I like had put the hot tub off. Like, okay, like, you know, like I just moved in October. I'm still, I want to like hang my TV on the wall still. I'm like figuring out what curtains I want to get. So it was just like,
Yeah, a lot going on. Yeah.
like we'll get there. But all of a sudden it felt so current because what I realized is I wasn't allowing myself to be in the sensory experience of having it because I had made this decision that it wasn't time yet to be in the hot tub. Like,
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of cutting my senses off from the experience of having it. And so that day I realized I still don't have the hot tub, but we'll do another episode maybe and check in.
Totally. Because it's only been a couple of weeks.
Right,
so,
right.
You know.
It's been like 2 weeks. But I already know like that it's been brought closer. And actually I went on a hike with my dear friend who I share the property with. And so we would both benefit from and potentially even split the cost of the hot tub. And so we were like talking about, you know, a hot tub that maybe they could build in the backyard so they wouldn't have to crane it in, because that can actually be one of the most expensive parts, is if you have to like get a crane to bring it in. And so we were talking about types of hot tubs, and we were looking at the space and like gauging like what's the kind of size we could get. And we were talking about shopping. All of that was inspired by the conversation. Like I came to the conversation differently with her because I was like, hey, listen, I really want to get a hot tub.
And like I've seen it. So like it's on, like it's happening. I've been in it. And you know, to this week I got a catalog from Costco, and on the back of it is a hot tub. And I immediately thought of you, and I was like, I have to show him. It's on sale at Costco. So that there are, when you see it and you feel it, one, you can mine it for so many different things. One, even if you don't have the hot tub right now, even taking a bath, like even taking a bath and getting something to like a bath bomb that like colors it in a certain way, or really when you're present, even taking a shower, feeling the water on your spine, because you have seen it, you have felt the deep satisfaction of your soul, of that physical recharge. You can recreate the moment right now as you are in the process of actually bringing the full experience to materialization. But it does change everything, because then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, let's do a little shopping. Like, let's see what the options are. Maybe I can be flexible and not have it on the deck, but we'll build it in ground, or we'll like, what are the ways that we could pull this off and have it be amazing? And suddenly you feel like, yeah, I can make my wishes come true.
Yes. Yeah. Will you come over and take a dip with me
Oh
in
my
the
God.
hot tub?
Now I'm trying to figure out how we can safely both record a podcast and be in the hot tub.
I thought about that. And maybe your husband can like help guide us. Like, I've thought about floating mics
Oh, interesting.
that sort of float on the surface.
Yeah, we can do something kind of
Or maybe
regardless.
it attaches like almost like a bra, like a bra mic stand. So that as you move, the mic like moves perfectly with
I
you.
love it. I love it. I love it. You will see a post with this, at least at the very least, with a picture of us in the hot tub.
Wishes
wishes
can come
true. Shannon, you are amazing. I just adore you. For all of our fans, find Shannon at what's the best website? Because we were just talking about your new website.
Yeah, well, so shannonalgeo.com.
Okay.
It's two N's, SHANNON, Algeo, ALGEO.com. If you want to listen to the podcast, there's a podcast tab, but you can also go to shannonalgeo.com/podcast.
Yes.
And if you want to learn about the meditation program that I'm putting together,
Yes.
called Soul Illumination, you can go to Soul Illumination, 1L. It's just soullumination.com
Solumination.
/2020. No, not 2020. Meditate. Yeah.
Which I can't wait to experience. I just love how you show up in the world and the gifts that you share with everybody. And I'm so happy to know you now.
Oh my gosh. I really feel such a friendship with you. I'm so happy to know you. And I'm so grateful that we've had this time to connect. Thank you for having me on the show. And thank you for being a part of reminding me of the power and the legitimacy of wishing.
Thank you. It is a legitimate act. It is straight up what people should be doing. I invite you to do it today. You're amazing. I have a feeling this is going to be part 1. I'm just saying.
I have that feeling too. And I'm enrolled.
Yay! All right. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.